I am back for another season of Talk on the Block. I'm excited about what's in store for you guys. My first show of the year in Black History Month. This is what we're doing. In light of celebrating Black History Month and Dr. King's birthday that just passed, we should ask ourselves what has changed in race relations in America. Is America as racist as it was 60 years ago? What about 100 years ago? Many Democratic leaders and colleagues on the left will say, yeah. Or they'll say it's even worse than before. In my opinion, that sentiment would be far from the truth. Why, you might ask? Look, every year we celebrate Abraham Lincoln for his accomplishments in the fight to free the slaves. Another thing we celebrate and we remember is the countless black slaves who fought in the Revolutionary and Civil War in order to obtain the promised freedoms for fighting. Another thing we celebrate in Black History Month is the accomplishments of people like Dr. King, Malcolm X, Sojourner Truth, Marcus Garvey, Harriet Tubman, Booker T. Washington. How many do I got to mention? So much more. So if America is inherently racist, then why do we celebrate these accomplishments? Do we even see their accomplishments as anything to celebrate? Was their actions even admirable to you? Have we considered the impact that their actions have had on American society? I know I have. If people want to make claims that America is inherently or institutionally racist, then I believe they will be lying. They're fabricating it. Do we have racist people in America? And at times in powerful positions? Yeah. In the past, did we have racist laws on the books? Yes. But here's what we're not recognizing. We forget that history shows that racist policies and laws has at all times been challenged and changed. Even in today's times, we're still fighting things that we claim and seem to be racist and are even winning that fight. So how is this happening? Make it make sense. If we're institutionally racist, how have we made so much progress towards equality and equity and human rights? In an institutionally racist society, we shouldn't have any success when it comes to racism because racists would be running every institution in America. And that would be a lie. The truth is that the very people we are calling racist and colonizers are the people who fought to change laws to give black people, women, LGBT, and other minorities freedoms and privileges in American society that we see today. When we take American history from the inception of the country, meaning since 1776, when we became a country, we have progressed towards freedom and equal rights for all, faster than any society in history. Some of you would like to believe that America, started in 1619, although the colonies were under British control. Unlike the perception of 1619 project, the United States of America was founded on freedom for all people. The U.S. Declaration of Independence, which Thomas Jefferson penned in 1776 during the beginning of American Revolution, reads, "We hold these truths to be self-evident, and that all men are created equal, that are endowed by the Creator with certain unalienable rights, and among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness." That's the Declaration of Independence. This document set the framework for what I call the greatest era of American progression. Freedom and liberty was without freedom and liberty wasn't without its challenges from greedy people who would, love to keep their wealth and that was obtained by slavery, but Those people did not win. We are freer today than any time in history. Other than personal belief and bias, racism in institution has been abolished, terminated. Our black leaders of the past will be proud of what their sacrifices accomplished. We have politicians of many colors represented in all levels of government and in all parties. I'm talking about Democratic, Republican, the Green Party, whatever party you can say. There is black representation in all parties in America. We have more cities ran and controlled by minority leaders. Look at Chicago. They're making laws and managing policies. Look at Baltimore. Look at Atlanta. So where's the institutional racism? Let's take a look at history starting from 1776. Now I want to speak candid to you guys. And I want to outline this for you guys so that you guys can actually see what I'm talking about, right? 1776, the American colonies declared their independence from the United States of independence as the United States of America. Let's skip up to 1781. British surrenders at surrenders at Yorktown, Virginia. Got to look at my notes. The Articles of Confederation were ratified. See that? 1776, the American colonies declared their independence as the United States. We said we are now no longer a colony of Britain. We're the United States now. The British lost. They surrendered at Yorktown. The Article of Confederation were ratified in the colonies, right? That's 1781. 1783, the Revolutionary War officially ends with the Treaty of Paris. George Washington crossing the Delaware. Now, we totally beat Britain right here in 1783. We're not under their control. We're not under their rules. We don't have to follow nothing they do. Here is the establishment. 1987, the Constitution is adopted by the Constitutional Convention. We know what Constitution we're talking about. The one that establishes that all men are going to be free, right? 1789, George Washington becomes the first president of the United States. This is the man that got us freed from British control, British rules. You know, because British rules said we can have slaves. Remember that. Remember what rule we were under the colonies. We were under British rule, right? 1791, the Bill of Rights is added to the Constitution as the first 10 amendments. And this is one of the things that we really pride ourselves on, especially the First and the Second Amendment. Now, this is the framework, guys. Yes, slavery is still going on. Yes, there's some things that's still going on. Remember, things take time. Even nowadays, things don't just happen overnight, right? We still have slaves, but they're setting the framework. It's like we see government do this all the time, where they set the framework for what's about to happen. The Bill of Rights, the framework for look, we already see what all this happened. I'm just going through it for you. The framework for what we see now, right? That was 1791. The Bill of Rights was added, the first 10 amendments. 1803, the size of the U.S. has nearly doubled with the Louisiana Purchase from France. So look, we're getting all foreign countries. We're getting rid of all of foreign country control, because America wants to do what it wants to do for this country. It wants to be sovereign from any other control, any other rule. Look at this. I'm going to skip down because there's a lot. All this stuff has to do with the war, like the War of 1812 begins in 1812 against the Great Britain, Lewis and Clark. You see they try to come back, right? They try to come back. We still kept fighting them. There's a bunch of the Alamo and then the Cherokee Indians, but we want to fight with the Indians. The Mexican-American War happened in between this time. 1859. Here's where the abolitionists start coming up. Abolitionists. John Brown leads a raid on Harper's Ferry. Look at this. 1776, the Constitution was adopted. Then we had the Bill of Rights that came. It's adopted a little early, later, like 1781, whatever. And then all of a sudden, you got abolitionists now coming up. If it wasn't for that document, abolitionists wouldn't even be a thing, because they made all men equal. Now these abolitionists are now starting to fight like, if all men are equal, then we got some slaves. See, that's 1859. They started fighting for freedom. I never heard of that in history. But let's keep going. 1860, Abraham Lincoln was elected president. 1860. This is the president that we all talk about, right? And guess what? The American Civil War begins. So in 1861. So in 1861, from 1776, when we became America in 1776, we said we're going to get rid of all this control. We came together, organized as the United States of America, and we started fighting off Britain, France, and every other country and every other controlling faction. Right? And then now we up to 1861. 1776 to 1861. Right? Civil War begins. Literally, Civil War to get rid of slavery. 1863, let's keep going. The Union Army wins the Battle of Gettysburg. Lincoln issues the Emancipation Proclamation, freeing the slaves in the South. 1863, he freed the slaves in the South. Hold on, let's look at that real quick. Let me do a calculation for you real quick. 1863. Let me keep going. Wait a minute. Let's skip down to 1865. The American Civil War comes to an end. Now, the Civil War ends right here. Right? With General Robert E. Lee surrendering. President Abraham Lincoln was assassinated this year as well. And then in 1865, slavery is outlawed by the 13th Amendment. How long did that take since we became a country? But we claiming that America is racist for some reason. How long did that take since we became a country where soon we became a country, we set the groundwork, we set the groundwork for all men to be free. This is what the Declaration of Independence is, what the Constitution talks about. This is what the Bill of Rights outlines. All men to be free. The Bill of Rights saying what rights men have, all men have, and government cannot take from you. The government don't give you these laws. These are rights that are God-given that the government cannot take. These are what these documents established from the time they said we're going to be our own country. How many years was that? 89 years. It took 89 years to end slavery. What happened? What was this whole thing about 200 years of slavery and 400 years of slavery and all this stuff that people are talking about? And I'm specifically talking about the United States of America. Since the United States of America was established, 89 years in this country. I'm not talking about in the Americas as a whole, because there was different countries that ruled, like the colonies were ruled by Britain. You have the Caribbean islands that were ruled by France and Spain and stuff like that. So I'm not talking about their history. That had nothing to do with us, because that's not our countries. Those are not our people. I'm talking about America. Since America started in 1776, it took 89 years. They set the groundwork to end slavery. Now, yeah, We still got issues with in a sense racism. I'm only going to say racism because it was more than that. It was about property rights. It was also about people losing their livelihoods. It was about money and power, all this stuff. It really had nothing to do with race and the color of our skin, considering that there were black slave owners during that time in the South. Actually, there are I know there were 5 of them that were some of the richest slave owners in America, and they were black. It's in history, guys. All you have to go is look it up. It's easy to look up. Let's move on down. That's 89 years, right? So obviously there's a lot of stuff that happened with inventions. American cross, basketball was invented. All this stuff is not important. I'm going to pull up the parts in history that has to do with the progression of freeing slaves and giving black people rights. Look at this. 1917. Now we're down to 1917. The United States joins World War I on the side of the Allies declaring war on Germany. And think about that. After we abolished slavery, now mind you, abolitionists are working all through this time. Harriet Tubman has got the Underground Railroad going. You got abolitionists working to free slave to make sure that I'm sorry, that's not right. But this is after those things, and now everybody's free. Now, yeah, we have some lynchings and stuff going on. We have some racial tension going on during this time, right? But America is still making laws during these times. Forget there's laws still being made. There's things being talked about. There's people being fought and people, going to jail for doing bad stuff and not going to jail. There's a lot of stuff going on in this time, right? We also went over to Germany to help free another race of people. This is America, guys. The thing that y'all saying is racist. We went to go free another. 1920, guess what? Women gained rights to vote through the 19th Amendment. Women got rights. So that means that Constitution set the framework for women to have rights too. If it wasn't for the Constitution setting the framework, nobody would have been able to fight for women to have rights. Let's skip on down to 1935. Social Security Act, it was signed into law. They helping old people. Look at this. This is what our Constitution did. This is what America did. The United States of America did. Let me be specific. This is what the United States of America did. This is the thing that everybody's calling institutionally racist. The minute we became a country, we started freeing slaves. We started giving people rights, left and right. Yes, you had people trying to fight to keep things the old way, Dixiecrats, the nowadays Democrats, but they didn't keep it that way. They kept it going. They kept fighting to give people rights. In between that, you had the World War II begins. You got the Pearl Harbor incident. You got all this stuff going on. Germany surrenders to U.S. Some bombs were dropped, atomic bombs, and guess what? We got this whole thing in 1955 with Rosa Parks that started up a big situation on the bus, where her not giving up her seat started this big situation that started to escalate the Jim Crow laws, the things that were going on in the South to black people that was not right because they did not want to let go of slavery. So this is 1955. Now from 1955, there's a lot of stuff that happened. There was the Bay of Pigs invasion in Cuba. There's the Cuban Missile Crisis. All this stuff happened, right? But all through that time, black folks protesting, black folks out here, fighting for freedoms and not fighting for freedoms, but fighting for equality and equity, fighting for these things because we were free. But we were free people because we had our own cities, we had our own infrastructures, but we were fighting for equality now because we weren't getting what was due to us, right? By equality, we weren't able to do business with certain people. So now we're fighting for equality, the ability to have the same opportunities of everybody else. 1963 comes around. Martin Luther King gives a speech, I Have a Dream, and speech and March on Washington. 1963, President John F. Kennedy was assassinated. And then guess what? That next year in 1964, right after that, Martin Luther King, because mind you, between that time, all this stuff was going on. I'm talking about Malcolm X was having stuff going on. We were fighting for equality, the ability to live peacefully in equality without having any Jim Crow laws and things hindering us because of the color of our skin or because who we were ex-slaves, right? Civil Rights Act passed in 1964. Passed. How many years was that, guys? 188 years to end racist laws and policies in America. But yet we're institutionally racist. But yet we're a racist country. We were founded on racism. How? How did that happen? Because the minute the Constitution was adopted, the minute they wrote the Bill of Rights, the minute they wrote the Articles of Confederation, we started progressing towards giving different groups of people rights and privileges under the law. Not just saying it, literally making laws so that we can have rights and privileges equal to the other people who felt like they were superior to us. But America is institutionally racist. Killing all that right there. 1968, Martin Luther King was assassinated. And I'm going to skip all this other stuff because all this stuff, it doesn't matter. We get up to 2009. We have our first black president, Barack Obama. Altogether, 233 years. Now, mind you, I ain't going to say that he was our first black president. It's our first recognized black president. There's some other things in history that people don't know about, but some things that were going on even before when we were establishing things. But think about that. Think about that. Because look how we talk about slavery in the U.S. today. Consider how we talk about slavery in the U.S. today. You would think that we have been slaves for thousands of years or decades. The United States of America has slavery for 89 years. Literally slavery for 80. I'm talking about forced slavery. I'm not talking about the civil rights era. 89 years of slavery. When America became a country, United States of America, had only 89 years of slavery. Where's that 400 years of slavery y'all were talking about? Because I'm confused. Now, I know what y'all saying. Well, I can hear you all the way in the back talking about, no, it was the people who were we were still slaves because they brought us over here through the transatlantic slave. That started before that. Yeah, it did start before that. We were slaves under the other country's rule. But every country in the world had black slaves, white slaves, because you got to remember the first slaves that were coming over here were Irish. Even though y'all want to say, oh, that was the indentured servers. No, they were Irish. They weren't indentured. They were captured too. Go look at the history. Go to go look up something in Ireland. Go look up their information. Don't get it from the American books. Go to Ireland and look at their history. Irish people were enslaved to Britain. Irish people did not like when the Great Britain took over when England took over all of Great Britain, they got rid of the Scottish and the Irish. The Irish were the dogs. They became slaves, not indentured service. They weren't doing it because they owed money. No, they enslaved them because the English took over all of that and they became Great Britain. Look at the history of William Wallace. Because it was 3 different areas in the Great Britain, and all of Great Britain: the Scottish, the English, and the Irish. And the English took over that whole country and they became Great Britain. Irish people were slaves. When it became the colonies, they were bringing them over. Then they became, the Irish became not, lucrative for financial gain. So they went to get the African. because the African was easier to identify. The Irish blended in. It was about money, guys, not race. Slavery was about money, not race. Later on in civil rights, it became about race. You can get mad at me all you want to, but those are the facts. But I'm gonna compare that to something. Let's look at Egypt. Egypt literally enslaved the Israelites, the Hebrews, for over 400 years. We had slaves in America for 89. You can't say that that's not a fact. I just read you the timeline. I read you the timeline from 1776 to when slaves were freed and then when the Civil Rights Act was passed. I read you the timeline. You can do the calculations. You can't sit here and say that I'm lying or spreading false information. I just read you the timeline. Historical timeline. Right? Over 400 years, the Hebrews were enslaved to Egypt. Wait, let me give you another one. The Roman Empire enslaved not just black people, not just the Hebrews, because they had the Hebrews too. They took over Jerusalem, the Israelites. But not just them. They took over all Persians, the Hebrews, Africans, other white folks, because they weren't Romans. They had all kind of slaves. People fighting in the Colosseum from all over. They were slaves. Slaves from the 18th century BC to the fall of their empire, which was about 2nd century BC. Now I heard it was longer, but the history I found was that's over 600 years, guys. Over 600 years. We crowned about 89 years. That's 6 centuries, guys. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. That's wrong. I said 6 centuries. I miscalculated right there. You see my math? I wasn't even thinking. I said 18th century BC to the fall of the empire in second. That's 16 centuries. I'm sorry. 16 centuries. That's over 1,600 years, guys. Somebody was a slave. Some group of people was a slave for 1,600 years. And we're crying about 89 in America? I don't even want to go to China and tell you about what they did to the Mongols. How many years were the Mongols enslaved to China, to the Ming Dynasty? Matter of fact, I think every dynasty in China had slaves for a lot longer than we did. And we're crying about 89 years. We're traumatized over 89 years. Like, where are we at, people? What happened? How did we get here? 89 years. We're traumatized over that. 16 centuries, guys. I can't even imagine. I couldn't even imagine being enslaved for 16 centuries. That's my great. That means my family was nothing for 16 centuries. And y'all suck talking about some 89 years. Oh my God, it was the worst ever. And mind you, you act like we were treated worse than the Romans treated their slaves, and which was not even true, because they made their slaves fight one another to the death in Colosseum matches. They made their slaves be killed by their legions and their centuries for sport. And American slave owners kept us in good health because they want us to work. No, we didn't have luxury, nothing, but they still kept us in good health. They made sure we stayed in good health. Come on, guys. Where y'all at? Where you at? Like, this is crazy. I'll be back after this. Hey guys, I'm back. Hey, let me first give you this quick announcer real quick. Hey, if you guys get a chance, make sure you follow me on all my social medias. My social medias is down at the bottom of the screen over here. Look, it's mine over here. The Wiley Life and Talk on the Bloc. Wiley Life is more inspirational. This is where I do all of my fitness and encouraging words and stuff like that. I kind of differentiate my content because of algorithms on different social media platforms. But Talk on the Bloc on TikTok, you can follow me. If you type in Chris Conscious, I have so many different pages because they ban me so much on TikTok. You can find my content over there as well. If you guys want to support, please hit me in my inbox. I can show you different ways to support this show. I am looking for support for the show because I got some new things coming up real soon. I'm actually opening up a network. It's called Is One Network. It just is like no cap, just is no cap. I'm trying to be hip with those words, but it just is one network. All about free speech, all about no censorship. I'm going to be soliciting some creators to come on specific shows to be on this network with us. So if you want to see that vision come to fruition, please support. I will let you guys know. Information will be in the comment sections where these videos are posted on our social medias. We'll be back. Welcome back. This is my segment called Dating Chris. I'm going to be talking about some interesting things in dating, relationships, relationship building. Because even though I talk about politics, I am a big component. I shouldn't say component. Make it sound like I'm some type of a machine or something. But I'm a big pusher of building healthy relationships, whether it be friendships, family, romantic relationships, stuff like that. And reason why I'm big on that is because over the years I've had some terrible relationships with people, with family members, with dates, and I've had some really good relationships, great friendships, and I was married before. It was a great marriage. The funny thing is, I did not divorce on a bad note. We didn't get divorced because we didn't love one another or because we couldn't stand another. It was just because we just wanted to do something different. And we had a mutual divorce, and it was easy. We only had to do the required 6 months, and it was over with. But to this day, me and my ex-wife are still really good friends. We converse every once in a while, with respect, because whoever we're dating at the time or whatever. But I use my examples to tell you guys what I've learned, and hopefully what I've learned or what you've experienced will be similar, and you'll get something out of it, or you get another way to handle your situations. But today I'm talking about this ideal of ghosting. I really lately here I've been trying to date. I'm sorry, I said lately here. I forgot what season I was in. Lately, meaning in the last 7 to 8 years, I've been dating, right? And I've had some interesting experiences lately here. I'm good. There's somebody that, I got my eye on. I'm going to leave it at that. I don't like to be revealing my secrets. But I got my eye on that one. We'll see what's going to happen. Maybe it's going to be good. Maybe it's not. I'm one of those people that like to give my lady space when she needs space, because, I need space. But also come together and have really great moments. So I'm looking. I'm watching. I shouldn't say I'm looking, because I'm not out looking, because it's one person. But anyways, in my past, I did all that to explain to you because I was trying to keep my business to myself, huh? Because I don't like to talk about what's going on currently with me because people be all up in your junk. But anyways, if you're trying to destroy something that's not solid yet, that's why I don't talk about my current situation. But as I was dating, I've been on these apps, right? Hinge, even Facebook dating, which is kind of weird because all your information is on Facebook. But Hinge, I haven't done Tinder. Tinder is stupid. Tinder is just a bunch. Something's wrong with Tinder. But I've been on some of these dating apps, and I was really, I find a lot of people who match with me, and we text and stuff like that. I'm kind of old school, so the texting thing is stupid because how do you start off a conversation, especially when you read these profiles? Look, I'm gonna read profiles to you. These profiles be hilarious. I got a whole list of profiles that I screenshotted that I want to read to some of the things that people say on it. That's another show, but we talking about ghosting. And I match with these people. We have good conversations and stuff like that. So there was when I was a couple years ago in LA. I took this young lady out. Now, mind you, and I'm gonna tell this story later about how I learned this. I have a policy when it comes to dating where I date backwards. I'm not gonna do all this elaborate stuff for somebody that I might not see tomorrow, right? So I tend to keep my more creative, more expensive stuff for someone who's going to stay with me or be with me. I don't do it where I'm going to do all this elaborate stuff, spend hundreds and stuff of dollars. So, a lot of, and how that is. Man, y'all know how that is with some of these women out here. That's kind of a turnoff for women because women are looking for the man with the money, and I want anybody's money spent on me and stuff like that, right? So I took this girl out. Now, mind you, this date I did get a little, bougie because, every once in a while I want some good stuff. Just me. I'm bougie myself a little bit. So we had a nice little date. I took her down to the Santa Monica Pier, and we walked the pier. It was really nice outside. The stars were gleaming, and it was just all out beautiful. And then we went and had dinner at this restaurant that's over there, and amazing restaurant, very expensive restaurant, but I wanted to eat there. It was something that I had already planned to do anyway. She just happened to be with me at the time that I want to do it, so she reaped those benefits, right? Oh, and believe me, she was extremely happy because she was sitting there all giddy. Oh, I thought she was going to take me to Applebee's or something like that. And I'm like, what's wrong with Applebee's? What's wrong with Applebee's? Come on, guys. Come on. What is wrong with Applebee's? Because I don't see nothing wrong with it. I don't see nothing wrong with it at all. But anyways, I don't really eat at Applebee's, and unless I'm just hungry and I need something real fast. Because Applebee's food. Applebee's on a date night. No, but she was all excited about going to this restaurant. I'm sorry. I'm trying not to get on these tangents. So she was giddy. She was talking about, I thought you was going to take me to Applebee's. I'm glad you took me here. This is a great restaurant. So she was just talking. Extra happy, and I'm like, oh, this girl is very materialistic because everything she talked about was all about money and this and this and this. Now, mind you, we met there, so I didn't go pick her up and everything because it's like our first date. I'm not picking you up. Like, it's just not happening. She asked me she over here speculating what kind of car I got. Oh, you must drive a BMW or something. I'm like, no, in my mind, I'm like, no, I got an Acura. I drive an Acura, a SUV. That's what I drive. I've been driving it, and it's a good car, and I'm going to drive that thing until the wheels fall off, It can have dents in it, and if that thing is still running, I'm driving it, huh? I'm not one of those people. Like, I spend money on vacations. That's what I save my money for. I don't need a bunch of luxury stuff to show people that I got money. That's just not my thing, right? So I'm sitting there like, But we was vibing. It was a good vibe. She was a very beautiful girl. She had a bang bang going on. She was my type of chick because I'm all about fitness and stuff like that. So she was fit. She go to the gym. It wasn't all fake, and I don't like plastic. She didn't have no fake hair in her head. None of that stuff. She was Everything on her naturally was just beautiful. So I thought we was vibing out, you know. So then date ended, you know. I don't tell you what happened after date. No, nothing really happened after date because I don't do that. It was the first date, right? So she went to her car. She really was excited. She gave me a little kiss, and I went about my way. And so I'm like, oh, this is gonna work out. This is gonna be a nice little relationship. You know, I can do this. You know, I'm all puffed up. You know, feeling all good about myself, feeling fresh, dressed like $1,000,000. You know, put on a nice tee and my all blue chucks. Oh, look at that bars. Nah, you know, I stole that from somebody. But so me, I'm not one of those people who I gotta call you right away and stuff like that. I don't do that, right? I give you space, let you think it over, you know, all this stuff. And I figured we were vibing, that she was really gonna be good. So the next weekend, I call her. I didn't get a call. I was like, she didn't answer the call, and I'm like, okay. I didn't think nothing of it at the time. I said, maybe she's busy. You know, that's just me. I'm not one of those people like, oh, I should, you know, a month go by and I won't think twice about why you didn't call me, right? So then I called her again. So that was the week after, the Friday after. Then I called again on Monday to see if she wanted to do something that following week. So that'll be 2 weeks since our date. So I'm not getting any response, and I'm like, wait, what's going on? I thought we were vibing, you know. And I even noticed that I didn't get any text since the date. No text, no calls, no nothing. And I realized it then, like, wait a minute, he's going to call and she's going to text you. That was one thing I do know. She's going to call and text you. And so I'm texting. Then about Thursday, because I'm trying to get plans for Friday, I texting, and I'm like, she ain't answering. I call, and I left a message, and then I called again right away, and then she answered. She's like, what? Right there, I was like, oh. She said, who's this? I said, Chris. We had the date on. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm busy right now. I'll call you back. This is what she did to me. Right now, you know, I'm a very confident person. You know, I'm confident about who I am. But this one, I said, and so now I'm reviewing the date in my head. I'm like, yo, like, did I say something wrong? Did I do something wrong? What was it that I did that turned her off where she just gave me that response? So I'm confused. So I'm like, okay. Where? So I'm literally going over the whole date, going over every one of my actions. Was I too boring? Was I too much? Did I talk too much? Was I too overly sexual or overly flirty with her or whatever? What happened to this? So then I'm sitting here. I said, so I'm going through this thing in my head, right? So she didn't call me back that night like she said she was. I called her the next day. I said, what the heck is going on? So she's like, okay, look. She said, I'm just going to be honest with you. Like, I was just going to ghost you because all I really wanted, right? She started talking like that, right? And once she started talking about that, I was like, oh, now my head is like, you just got played, bruh. She said, all I really wanted was a dinner for the night. I was bored. I needed to go on a date, and you were cute, and you seemed like you had money. And this is what she literally said to me. Literally, you had money, so I figured I just had a good time, you know? So now I'm not hurt. I'm just more like, why did you waste my time? Like, you could have told me that in the beginning. Like, you was trying to make it seem like we were vibing and we were gonna like come together and do things together and have a date and all this stuff, and, you know, try to build a relationship. She was talking about that on a date, talking about, you know, I want a man that did. I'm like, yeah, you know, you could, you know, stuff that all men gonna do anyway. And we were vibing, and then she told me, and I was like, wow. And that story led me to think, and I started saying, I just played myself because I went against my rule. And I'll tell you about that story on another show, where I date backwards. I allowed myself to spend so much money on a woman that did not have any, what's the word? Any goal to pursue a serious relationship with me. And after that experience, I said, I'm going to make sure anytime that I date somebody and I'm not feeling them, I'm not going to just ghost them, because how I felt in that moment, like questioning what did I do and all that stuff, that's not good, you know? And especially if I wasn't a strong-minded person, or if I wasn't somebody who was sure of themselves, that would have been a disastrous situation for me. That could put most people in a depression. That could have been somebody's suicide reason. And heaven forbid, you know, like, I think a lot of times we don't understand and we don't think about our actions when it comes to relationships, when it comes to dating, when it comes to friendships and all that stuff. You know, these times when we ghost people and we don't close things out, you know. And ghosting is even though it wasn't a serious relationship, we had just met, even though it was just something, still giving me closure would allow me to be like, oh, okay, cool, I'll have fun. It would allow me to make a better decision for myself. Not only that, I wouldn't have regretted the situation. I'm like, oh, because I would have knew what it was, and I put myself there knowingly, versus I didn't know she was going to act like this because she told me something totally different. So for me, ghosting is the lie after you told, is the confirmation of the lies that you tell on these dates. And these you don't want to ever start off a relationship with anybody like that. That's bad karma, because guess what? That's going to come back. That's going to come back. Whatever you put out comes back. Whatever sow, you will reap. However you want to say it, whatever religion you are, these things come back. Karma, what you put out will come back. Law of attraction, what you put out with the Bible. Whatever you sow, you will reap. You will reap. Put in practice, guys. Put in practice closure. Even with small things. I know that sounds dumb, but I'm telling you, if you put in practice closure, closing things out, making sure that those things are finished, put up, there is no residual, nothing. That is going to make your forever relationship, or your soulmate, whoever you get with, you're going to develop a habit that's going to be well appreciated in your relationship. Well appreciated in your relationship. So get in the habit of closing out things, making closure. Don't ghost nobody. If you're going to go on these dating apps are like going to the store, picking a woman and figuring out, oh, I'm going to try this one on. I don't like it, take it back. Right? That's how I feel about dating apps. I think they're stupid. Like, I get on there for fun, just to see who's on there and see what people are saying on their profiles. Because, again, I'm going to go over that. So just get in the habit of doing closure. And that is the segment, Dating Chris. We'll be back after this. We're back. It is time for the post of the day. I was looking on TikTok and I found something very interesting. This guy said something that I believe defines a man to the T. Like, this is man to the 100th power. Let's take a look at this video real quick.
There's one thing that every guy wants at the end of the day. Nothing. Every guy deep down wants to be able to sit there and do and think about nothing. Everything we do is motivated by this desire. It's why we have jobs, so that we can have enough money to eventually sit there and do nothing. It's why we weaponize incompetence, because if we pretend that we don't know how to do something long enough, they'll stop asking us and we can sit there and do nothing. Women, on the other hand, seem to be motivated by the exact opposite. Women seem to be motivated by the desire to do something. It doesn't matter what that thing is, as long as it's something. If there's nothing to do, they'll find something to do. It's why a woman will get upset if she comes home and sees her husband doing nothing. It's why men don't understand drama, because drama is literally making something out of nothing. It's already nothing. Leave it alone. Now you're making it something. It's why men are always trying to fix things, because you have a problem, I fix it, now it's nothing. Everything we do is pushing us towards that ever-elusive, sacred place of nothing.
If you can't agree with me that video is definitely what men are thinking, like now, don't get me wrong, I'm not a lazy man at all. I like to work. Obviously, you see that I'm doing this. There's other things I do if you look at all of my social medias. definitely not a lazy person, but when we come home, and I'm going to add this, when we come home, we want to do nothing. Literally nothing. Stare off into space. Like me, I like to zone out. That's what my dad used to call it, zoning out. I go into la la land and I'll just have this blank stare and I'm in total bliss. And I just love being there, and most men do. So, hey, ladies, I'm just gonna say, if you see a man doing nothing, you want to keep the peace, let that man continue to do nothing. Matter of fact, sit down and do nothing with him. We'll be back after this. I am back, and I'm gonna close out the show with this little piece for you guys. Kind of encouraging, that I think. Racism is a cancer, and I would never say that racism does not exist. I don't believe that institutional racism exists in 2022. I believe that people practice traditions that they used to do. People get caught up in doing things out of habit, like police officers, out of practice, because this is what they've been doing. It's not necessarily something that is in their policies or what they're supposed to be doing. It's just something that they're in practice and used to doing because somebody taught them a bad habit. So I do believe that. So I don't believe there is institutional, but I do believe there is personal racism. I do believe that there is inherent racism and just I'm used to being this way and don't realize that it's racist. And people do that. All people, including black folks, white folks, Latino folks, Asian folks, everybody has racism in them. And it's our job to make sure we cutting that racism out of our lives, out of our characters, because we want to stand on the words of Dr. Martin Luther King, which is to judge somebody based on the merits of their character, the contents of their character, on merit, right? Racism is a cancer. It is disgusting, and it is an unfortunate part of what makes many of us human. We have these biases that people can construe as racism, and we have these biases that are based on racism. We sometimes are just downright hateful, and remember, hateful people do not define who you are. Racist people do not define who you are. I want to say that one more time. Racist people do not define who you are. Do not let these people tell you that what happened in the past is a definition of who you are. What happened in civil rights, none of us experienced that. The people who experience that is like 80-something, 90-something out here dying, about to leave this earth and go on to the next life. We, people my age and younger, we have not experienced that. We do not have trauma from that because we did not experience that. We were told that. Don't let racist people tell us that that is our legacy, that is our history, that is what we live our life by, because that is a lie. We are better than that. We're bigger than that. Remember, hateful people do not define you. One thing I've learned in my years of dealing with racist people is that you are never the problem. It's them. Racist people are the problem, and they don't even know that they're the problem. So do not make yourself the problem. Just because that person is racist don't mean you have to react. Just because that person says something or do something racial to you doesn't mean you have to react and feed into it, because that's what they want. That's the whole purpose of doing something racist, is to get you out of your character and you to respond to them, because under that racism is a desire to be wanted, or the desire to be seen, a desire to be on top or to have some type of superiority, because these racist people have issues of their own. Don't make their problem yours. The best way is to rid the word of racism is to ignore it and smother it with love. I don't know why people think that I can do more hate to you to change hateful people. TikTok is big for that. I watch people on both sides of the fence, right and left, trash people because of what they say and what they think. And to me, that's disgusting. How are you changing races? How are you changing hateful people by putting hate back at them? Smother it with love. Love is a powerful energy. It's a powerful force. Smother it with love. It will either change someone for the better or it will cause them to hate you more. Love will either change them or cause them to hate you more. But that is not your problem. Remember what I said. Don't let their racism be your problem. That will show you that the racist is fighting his own battle with truth. Right? When you give love out to a racist, they're not fighting you. They're fighting the battle with their own truth. Right? They don't like that. Most people don't like truth. You're not the problem, so don't make yourself the problem. Don't find yourself hating someone else. Don't let racists make you racist. That's a good ending for those on TikTok. Don't let the racists make you racist. Don't let them make you react the way they are reacting towards you. Just pray for them. And encourage them to rethink their stance in life. I like what Morgan Freeman said on that when they asked him, how do we get rid of racism? He said, stop talking about it. Think about how when you don't want nobody to exist in your life, you straight ignore them. Don't say their name. Don't say nothing about them. You ignore. Don't act like you don't even say. They could be right in your face. You look right past them. Be like, what's your name again? If you want to get rid of racism, stop talking about it. Stop making everybody else racist. Stop finding racism in everything somebody do. Even in Karens. I don't like Karens either. But some of them Karens are not racist. They're just like that. And they're going to do that to everybody. Everything is not racist. Everything is not rooted in racism. Some things are, but not everything. So let's not keep pushing that by finding racism. And don't allow racist people to make you racist. And don't take on the problems. You are not the problem. And that's my show. Make sure you follow me on all my social medias. That's Talk on the Block on all social medias, and as well as Chris Conscious, as well as Wiley, the Wiley Life. If you want more encouraging things on the Wiley Life, Chris Conscious, you'll see me talk about some political things on TikTok, but also put out music, so you'll see that stuff on there. But those are my handles, and we out here in these streets. We out here in these streets.